You've been asking us over and over to use snow chains in deep powder. So today we're gonna do that. We're also gonna explore southern Idaho, and I've snow wheeled in Idaho before, but I have never been to elevations like this. I have never camped in temperatures this low. And this is by far the weirdest snow I've ever wheeled in.
All right, guys, we've got a good trail today. I'm gonna call this potentially the impossible trail because it is about 32 miles long. We're gonna be started out at about 5,200 feet. We top out at 8,200. The weather, the Snowtell site up there is reporting about 26 inches of snow, and it is also reporting 12 degrees currently. Tonight, it's supposed to go sub-zero.
The mountains of Idaho have this really rare quality that you don't find in the lower 48 in very many places, and it has the ability to perfectly mirror subarctic conditions because Idaho gets extremely low temperature, but it also has extremely high elevation. And this is honestly, it's a pretty rare quality to find in the lower 48. Like in Washington, all of our snow is formed between like 25 and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's warm snow, if that makes sense. So it's usually clumpy, it's got a lot of moisture in it, but all the snow that you're gonna see in this video is being formed between like 12 degrees and negative 12 degrees. And the higher you go, the colder it gets. I mean, it could be getting all the way down to negative 20, negative 30. And this gives us this insanely dry, dust-like snow that is unlike anything I have ever encountered. So this is 6,100. You're saying this is where we're going to start seeing elevation increase? I feel like we've already been climbing pretty fast, but you're saying we're about to get even steeper?
Yeah, once we get up here, it's because you've got to go from, like I said, all the way up to 82 pretty quick here, so climbing pretty fast.
Looks like we're gaining a little bit of snow depth too. Nothing crazy yet, but I can see it starting to climb up Kelly's tires. Snow changes a ton between temperature, elevation. I mean, it changes day to day. It'll change mile to mile depending on what the conditions are. And so our driving style reflects whatever the snow is doing around us. And usually when we show up at a new place like this, we just try a bunch of different strategies. My personal favorite is snow that allows you to creep nice and slow and controlled and to just try and stay on top of it. But sometimes that doesn't work, and you have to just hit it with everything you got. And every time that you're making any sort of forward momentum, it's because you're throwing all the weight of the vehicle at the snow, trying to get that extra 500 feet or so before you stop moving, and then you back up and you do it all over again. There we go. Oh, she's slippery. Oh, she's slippery.
Cannot believe how big of a difference like 2 PSI just made on my tires. This thing's going so much better.
So there's two key factors in snow that will get you stuck. One is, of course, the snow itself. Like, what kind of snow? Like, this is really dry, powdery snow, so traction is the problem. The other kind is depth, where you're plowing snow so hard that it makes it to where you just can't get enough traction to move all that snow. We're not plowing hardly at all. In fact, I just saw Kelly's rear diff dip down into the snow for the first time today. This is just so fine and so frozen that it's just slow going.
It's real slow going up here.
Like I said, it's real slow going. High elevations usually are associated with big changes in weather, and we're about to face our first of many storms that are going to come in on this trip. All right, let's get it. The little knob that you just saw me playing with on the ceiling that adjusts the sensitivity of my traction control settings. And traction control in a lot of modern 4x4s, it doesn't mean just pulls power. It actually will use the braking system to suppress tire slippage. So we're in 4-wheel drive, and if we have one, like the front driver tire is spinning faster than the front passenger, the computer will use the ABS system to suppress that spin to give you traction. And I have found that even though I've got front and rear lockers and I use those like constantly on rocks, in snow, the traction control settings definitely give you a huge advantage. However, snow changes a lot, and so I am playing with all these different settings, and here in a minute, I'm gonna start playing around with lockers just to see what is gonna work best for these conditions.
Welcome to the struggle bus, dude.
Oh, come on, baby. There we go. Keep it going. Keep it going. Oh, okay. We're getting to the deep now. What's funny is it's not even deep like where we live, but it's so much colder in Idaho, and this is so much powderier that it's not, you know, our rule of thumb where like snow sticks to snow better than rubber sticks to snow. It's basically just nothing sticks to snow here because it's all so fine. So we'll see how far we can get. I'm willing to just, you know, a few more hours of just like hard movement and see how high we go. Kelly and I were putting in a ton of work getting each other unstuck as we worked our way up this hill. And eventually I pulled off so I could let Kelly take the lead. And, you know, he broke the trail earlier in the day. Let's let him give it a shot again and see how he does. And unfortunately, he was riding the struggle bus pretty hard as we were getting higher up in elevation. But we decided to let the old Land Cruiser have a shot. And so Nathan took the reins and gave it a shot in the Land Cruiser. He's on an all-terrain, and it's like a snow-rated all-terrain, but it's only a 37, and even though we were all aired down below 4 PSI, we were down really nice and low, he couldn't quite make the momentum that we needed in order to continue up to the top of this mountain. So eventually I took lead again and just kept hucking this Toyota up this hill to try to see how far we could get before nightfall. Interest you in a meat, Kelly?
Oh, I like meats. Is it filled with cheese?
It is. It's cheese wrapped in meat.
Hard salami.
So I've been playing around with traction control versus lockers. I'm a traction control guy when it comes to snow, but I found some pretty interesting things, and Kelly's gonna film. So this is like as far as I can make it with lockers. I can only plow with lockers, I have found. The traction control settings are just not, I'm not making enough like momentum because they don't want me to like rev high enough. But with it just in like normal 4-low and lockers, I'm able to like plow. But I keep like almost getting stuck going backwards, and sometimes I have to use the traction control settings in order to even get it to move. And what's interesting is I can go super slow if we turn on multi-terrain select, go down to first gear, and we just let it do its thing, it will eat. As you can see, I am slightly moving forward, like it is doing it. Now, let's hit the lockers. Nothing. That's all she got. That looked like I sprayed you pretty good there. I'm sorry about that.
I mean, the shot's gonna look good.
At least it didn't look like you're covered in snow. It was pretty just dusty, so it just kind of...
It's just like throwing sand on me.
Dude, totally.
It just melts.
This is the coldest snow I've ever wheeled in for sure.
100%. It's totally different.
Nathan happened to have a set of chains that fit the 37s on the Land Cruiser that I sold him, so he brought those out, he hooked those up, and unfortunately, I mean, he got stuck like right away. So I'm going to pull him out. We're going to give it another shot. We're going to put some traction boards to hopefully get him up on top of the snow so he can float a little bit and see if these chains are going to make a difference. Snow chains!
Well, we made it this far.
Sure did.
Buried these things.
See if you can back up. You should be close to being on them. Just digging. Just instantly down.
It's a lot of deep stuff.
Those aren't digging near as bad. Now you can see the rear is so much deeper than the front because the chains are just going down. They're not going forward.
Turns out chains are not magic. Damn.
I feel like with a big enough tire and the right snow, I think this just isn't the right snow.
Yeah.
I think with a really big floaty tire, and if you're in something that's harder, this is just, yeah, I can stand on it, but as soon as a truck gets on it, you just go, it goes away. There was one short stretch where I was able to just slowly climb on top and stay on top. But as soon as, the grade started to get steeper again like it was before, it was the same story. But now the snow was even deeper, and it was making it much more complicated. I had to absolutely blast with just every little bit of horsepower this 3.5 liter makes in order to make any sort of uphill movement. And I was burning through fuel extremely quickly, so we switched it up. I had Kelly lead, but unfortunately, as soon as he reached my tracks, the end of where my tracks were, he got stuck. And just to be a good friend and flex on him a little bit, I drove my Tacoma around him, which is such a dick move. But I think that this shows the value of having the high clearance IFS system intact when you're doing these types of things, because that extra clearance, I mean, we're talking like 4 inches, 5 inches in some cases. It makes a big difference in your ability to plow. I was at 3.5. I am almost able to float. I'm so close. I'm able to get it to like roll on top and float for like 8 or 10 feet. So I'm gonna go down to like 2.5, maybe 2 in the rear, 2.5 in the front. That's gonna be basically flat for this. But I think if I just have a tiny bit more contact patch, I might be able to get on top of this, and we're not plowing as much as we're just kind of going over everything. At around 5,700 pounds and on a air down 39, I am just barely light enough to float through a pretty good section of this. I mean, if I had like 42s instead of 39s, or if I weighed around 5,000 instead of 5,700, I think that I would have been able to float on this much easier. But at the end of the day, once we got to the steep stuff, I had to plow just like we had been anyway. So it's definitely things for me to think about. Should I throw a bigger tire for snow and just trailer it to trails like this? I don't know. It's whittled down pretty light for all of the stuff that it is able to do. So I think that at this point, I just need to be happy with what we got and realize that this is some really difficult snow to float on. Much more difficult than where I come from. Good morning. Last video I did like this, there were some questions about my camp setup. I'm in a different setup now because I'm not in the Land Rover, I'm in my Tacoma, but we can still talk about some of the gear like my little heater and whatnot before we get out and start our day. So this little heater is like 150 watt heater, and it is
extremely tiny. You got to look down in there and you'll see the heat element. This is not, I wouldn't recommend this for like heating your average tent, but if you have insulation like this, so I've had insulation in the tent, the CVT tent that's on my Land Rover for a long time, but I just got it for the tent in my my Tacoma, and it makes, I mean, it's just insane the difference. So if you can insulate well enough, one of these little heaters actually works pretty dang good. Let's see, and I've been running this all night. Let's see how much battery we got left. So if I get the camera to focus, you can see we got 14% left on the battery. It's using 118, 117 watts. So I have another hour, 1.3 hours of battery left after running this for probably 9 hours. I've been chilling in here for a while. Outside of that, I do have my buddy heater in here just because I wasn't sure how cold it was going to get last night. It gets a lot colder in Idaho than it does in Washington. And personally, I like blankets. I'm not really big on sleeping bags. So I just double up on the blankets. I have a little heater that runs all night. And I do have a heated blanket under me, but I didn't even turn it on last night. I found myself to be completely comfortable by just firing up the buddy heater whenever I got in. That made this insulated tent hot in like a minute and a half. And then I just turned on this little heater, and that kind of helps circulate the air. So these are made to like defrost windshields for like old cars. It's not made to like heat a tent up, but it does a pretty dang good job. So I've had a bunch of people ask like where I got it and stuff. If you just go on Amazon and you type in like 150 watt 12 volt heater, you're gonna see a whole bunch of options. They're all cheesy, they're all corny, but for like $30, if you have a tent that's insulated well enough, this works. This is a pretty good option if you have enough battery for it.
It is remarkable what temperatures this low do to random gear. Like my olive oil is just one of those things that it's gotten very cold and like turned into a slushy many times snow camping, but this is the first time it like froze solid and I had to thaw it out with a buddy heater in order to use it to cook breakfast. My ladder froze solid. This is definitely too much information, and I apologize. My nose hairs were like freezing in my nose, and it just kept irritating my nose. I haven't had that happen before. And if you're from Siberia or Alaska or something, you're watching this, you're laughing at us for sure. But I'm telling you, for the rest of us, you get anywhere around 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and the game changes quite a bit. But this is not the biggest problem we have. It is not the cold weather. It is the fact that I basically consumed all of my fuel last night because we leaned heavily on the Tacoma to break this trail. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. So we've got to go back down the mountain, unfortunately, air up, go try to limp this to the nearest town, which I absolutely used every drop of fuel in this to coast it into the gas station, fuel everything up. It'd be nice to use like a real toilet, and then head back up the mountain in search of adventure. We want to get to the top of this mountain today, if at all possible. Oh, and by the way, every single video, I have tons of people asking me for exact coordinates on where I went. Here's a tip that I promise you will not regret learning. Everybody in my circle uses Onyx Off-Road to plan their trips. And I know you've heard me talk about Onyx plenty of times before. But for snow, there are a ton of tools that make this extremely easy, because here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a bunch of trails that are called groomed trails. And what that means is that they're snowmobile only. So how do you know where to go and not accidentally go up a snowmobile trail? You just click on the snow layer in Onyx, you select the different things that you want to see, and then it's going to light up a bunch of different trails that are going to be purple now. You click on them, it's going to show you the information on the trail, you'll see if it's groomed, And whenever I find a trail that doesn't say that it's groomed, I will scroll down on the onX app. It will give you the number for the ranger station, and I will call and confirm ahead of time, because if you run into a snowmobiler out there who doesn't know which trails are and aren't groomed, they think they own all the trails. So if you get do what I do, get permission from a ranger, get the name of the ranger, and then if you encounter any unfriendlies out in your snowy environment, you now have the ammunition you need to just let them know, hey, I have permission to be here, not just from an app, but the app gave me the information to call a ranger, and they gave me permission to be here. Well, Kelly, you ready to see if the snow has changed since yesterday?
Absolutely. It does seem like it has changed because I was able to crawl up on top instead of having to plow. So we'll see as I keep going if we'll actually be able to stay on top of the snow this time.
I'm very curious to see how this is going to pan out. I definitely see that I've gained a bunch of pressure in my tires because we gained so much elevation so fast. So I'll see how you do, and then I might air down a little more before I hit it. But it looks good up there, dude. Hit it.
Well, it already looked better than
Yesterday. So, I mean, you're able to crawl that far. You weren't even having to ram it.
Well, I didn't make it super far, but I made it a little bit. You definitely got no change today. Right now, but a couple hours
Temperatures slowly started to drop again, and there was a storm that was moving its way into our valley. I was hoping to make it to the top of the mountain today, but we're gonna have to fight for every foot to make that possible. To be completely honest, we're getting desperate at this point. I'm doing everything, every trick that I can possibly think of to try and float, which in some stretches, the grade wasn't as severe, so I was able to float, which is good. Could conserve a little more fuel by just going slow and trying to stay on top of the snow. But eventually the snow got deeper, it got softer again, we run into snow drifts, and this was an absolute slog to try to get any forward movement. We even used traction boards for quite a while to just build little ramps to get me back up on top to make another Tacoma's length of progress. But eventually we ended up getting back to this same old thing of just hucking this Tacoma with as much like energy as possible through the snow to get as far as possible, to then occasionally get stuck and need to get pulled out and start the cycle all over again. All in hopes that we can get to the top of this mountain, have some epic view, and a great place to camp tonight. You'd think at 5 degrees we would start to see the snow harden up in a way that would make it easier to drive on. There's a little snow in there.
Just a little bit.
Front end looks the same way. All right, gentlemen, let's get real here about options. It's 7.
It's real deep up there.
I don't know if so it's like I feel like I could plow till like 10. I don't know if 3 more hours of plowing will even get us up to the flat spot at the rate that I'm going now.
Well, it's steep It got steep. That's
So I
the
think
problem.
you guys know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So the real question is, do we back up and go set up camp, or do we back up, turn around, and go stay at your house where it's not going to be less than 0 degrees tonight? I feel like such a failure, man. I don't like this. But because like we're set up to cold weather camp. Like we are set up to where we are prepared to camp in sub-zero.
We were only supposed to be camping one night anyway. We didn't exactly fail at camping. We
guess
got
that's true.
cold weather camping down. This is not me trying to wimp out, but you guys have a long drive tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, the point of the trail was it was supposed to be an impossible trail. That's what I literally called it on day one.
Potentially the impossible trail.
That's true.
And it turned out, I mean, if we had like another day and a half, we could make it another, like, as far as I can see, like, it's that.
I think
it's
what
that
Kelly's saying is I need 42s.
Yep.
If I had 42s.
He needs 42s and really big chains.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, actually, that brings up a really good thing I want to talk about. So I have wheeled with people with chains, and I have never seen the light. I have never wheeled with people with chains and seen like this miraculous advantage. And where I live, I mean, I'll go wheeling with guys where 39s are the smallest tire in the whole group, and all the guys with big tires, everybody just airs down super low and no chains, and we go into crazy places. But I'm still open-minded to chains. Do you want to see me? I'm going to be putting 40s on this when I do the portals. Do you want to see me get some 40-inch chains with the portals and see if, like, do you want to see a chain video? Should we do like an actual chain video where I compare it in like 3 different environments and elevations and stuff so that we could experiment with different snow? I feel like that'd be kind of cool.
It's all going to come down to the type of snow. So
Right.
it'd be fun to see what type of snow it actually works. Like in this snow, we know for a fact it digs, but it's still, if you following, it still gives you better traction.
Yeah, I imagine you don't even slide side to side as easily
Yeah.
with chains. But with this, I mean, we're digging with no chains. We're gonna dig more with chains.
This is just the
This is-
craziest, hardest snow.
It is the coldest snow I have ever wheeled in, for sure.
It's like the sand dunes, but like.
Yeah, it is. It's seriously like moon dust or something. Anyway, so I guess the video's over. I guess we're backing up. We're gonna tuck tail. I think we should go stay at his house.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
it.
always down for a warm bed, that's for sure.
I mean, we got defeated by the unbeatable trail, and the good news is we all had I don't know about you, but I think we all had some new gear to test out and try out and break some stuff and get stuck, and mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, question mark, or asterisk maybe, I don't know.
Well, if it was labeled
I wanted to get up to a tall flat spot. I didn't want to abandon ship going uphill, but man, this was brutal. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We are going to go have some food. Let me know in the comments, do you want a chain video? I think that I do. I just don't know if I want to commit the money. But if you will watch a chain comparison video in this kind of snow, I will buy them. Thanks.